vast amounts of nothingnessness, and the nothingnessness existed in layers of untidy rooms, separated and connected by spots that were so nothing that they were negative, and thereby the first rule is something. In the negative something spots, the something became something more. However, very long periods of time were to pass in the nothingnessness before anything was very interesting. But eventually, there were many somethings in the nothingnessness. Some things became powerful creatures, and they named themselves gods, and they called the nothingnessness planes of existence. And the nothingness in which they had all come to be, they called the universe. The gods were slightly curious beings, and they discovered before long that the planes of existence were somehow connected with the universe, and that it was difficult to travel between them, mostly because of the negative something spots, which were very much one-way doors. And finding one that went back to the intended plane of existence was a very tedious task indeed, in which the only method of approach was trial and error. The gods eventually decided to mostly ignore everything that wasn't the universe. Doing anything else simply seemed too bothersome. The gods were selfish creatures, and they fought amongst each other, all against one and one against all, for a concept they called ownership of the universe. It was a tug-of-war unlike any that has ever since come to be. Many of the gods were destroyed before one had the idea of territories, and ever more gods were destroyed before he told the others of his idea. At this point, all the gods were weakened and very tired, and so they liked the idea and agreed to try it out. A few more gods were destroyed during the negotiations and distributions of territories within the universe, and once all was agreed upon, the gods went their separate ways. The gods made sure there was a no-god's land in the universe. It would be the common room, the one place where they were all allowed and all safe. It would also be the boardroom, where they could meet to discuss things if problems arose. The place in the universe which this story centers around came to be the home of the god Yahweh. But since this is only one of the names that his future creations will give him, we will in this story simply call him God. God likes this. It makes him feel unique and special and important, which, in this story, he is. God was fine by himself for a long time, even though he was, as per the agreement with the other gods, confined to stay in his territory, or otherwise only needed the selected social locations with the others. He very much disliked meeting with the others, as he had a tendency to grow tired and aggravated with them rather quickly. And so, God entertained himself in his territory, where the other gods would not disturb or annoy him. But, as boredom has a tendency to overcome even, and in fact especially the most eternal of beings, God was soon subject to the wonders of wondering what to do with his time. He had an idea, which we today should be rather thankful for. The idea was that of creating other beings, but he would start with just one. This was a good idea because, as it turned out, firsts tend to go wrong. He wanted to create a being with which he could entertain himself further. Much like a Barbie doll is to a girl, so would this being be to God. Fun to play with, but will stay wherever you put it down, whenever you go to do something else. In short, he did not intend it to have much mind of its own. However, as firsts do very much tend to go in ways that are entirely other than intended, the odds were against God, and he made his first mistake.